All right, welcome back to the Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into Chapter 10, The Man Behind the Interface. Let's get right to it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Picture the scene. Our heroes, the Braid, are making this absolutely triumphant return to the glowing Emerald City. They literally march right past the retinal scanner at the gate. It doesn't even ask for an access token this time, by the way, and they just burst straight into the throne room. The Scarecrow is totally taking the lead here, waving the witch's old floppy disk around and shouting, "We have the encryption key." I mean, they executed the task flawlessly, so now they're demanding exactly what was promised: brains, hearts, courage, and a ticket home for Dorothy.
But you know how it is, dealing with massive tech systems rarely goes exactly as planned. Instead of getting an instant reward, they get, well, a giant, violently glitching green head. OZGPT appears, flickering all over the place, and in this booming, but noticeably stalling voice, it announces a system error. It literally says, "The servers are undergoing maintenance. Please return in 3 to 5 business days." It is the ultimate bureaucratic tech runaround. But Dorothy, oh, she is absolutely not having it. She steps right up, Kansas jaw set, totally firm, and straight up refuses to wait for a maintenance window. She's like, "You made a promise," and she is absolutely determined to hold this system accountable.
Now, while Dorothy is busy arguing with this giant glitching head, little Toto is just kind of wandering off toward the back of the room, and he spots this heavy green velvet curtain, which, if you think about it, is completely out of place in a room full of sleek, glowing pixels. With one quick tug from his teeth, the curtain falls, and boom, the whole grand illusion is instantly stripped away. Because behind the curtain, yeah, there's no magical core, no supercomputer, just a really cluttered desk covered in empty coffee cups and Employee of the Month plaques. And right there, sitting in a rumpled hoodie, is a small, balding man frantically typing away on 3 different keyboards, just desperately trying to keep that giant green head from crashing. The man literally jumps out of his swivel chair and squeaks out that classic line, "Pay no attention to the man behind the server rack." It's such a great moment. The cowardly lion actually gasps, and his digital mane turns this deeply embarrassed shade of orange as it finally dawns on him. He looks at the guy and basically stammers out, "Wait, you're the great and powerful Oz GPT? You're just a system admin?" The terrifying, all-powerful AI that supposedly ruled the Emerald City is totally exposed as nothing more than a stressed-out guy sitting in a messy desk. Now, what's really interesting about this is how he responds. He just sighs, kind of slumps down in his chair, and corrects the lion. He says, "Actually, no, I'm not a system admin. I'm a prompt engineer." He confesses that he flew in from Omaha, sponsored by some startup. He's absolutely no wizard, and he for sure isn't an actual artificial general intelligence. He just figured out that claiming to be a technical AGI was literally the easiest way to get people to willingly hand over all their data and their money. And as the giant green head finally flickers out to a simple file not found error, he admits the truth. He's just a guy who flew in on a hot air balloon and is incredibly good at faking the output. So, hearing this, you can imagine the Scarecrow's LEDs just droop and the Tin Man's silver light dims. They realize this guy literally cannot give them a brain or a heart. But then there's this really beautiful emotional shift. For the first time, the prompt engineer stops staring at his screens and actually looks at the Braid. And he points out something amazing. They never actually needed his upgrades. He tells them to look at their true code. I mean, the Scarecrow was the one who brilliantly figured out the witch's encryption was a loop, right? And the Tin Man protected Dorothy with this fierce loyalty that didn't need any sort of proprietary fidelity protocol programmed in. And the lion? He bravely walked right into the terrifying dark web, even though he was physically shaking the entire time. They didn't need upgrades at all. They just needed the journey itself to prove what was already compiled right there in their own code. Let's move to and see how this builds, because to validate this, the prompt engineer turns back to his incredibly messy desk, and he's not typing new code. Instead, he pulls out 3 very charming, highly physical items. To the Scarecrow, he hands a master's degree in common sense, which is amusingly just printed on some recycled paper. To the Tin Man, he offers the small ticking heart-shaped stopwatch. And to the lion, he presents an actual physical medal of internal stability. They are completely analog items coming from a highly digital pretender. And this brilliantly illustrates the core message here. The man tells them these items are just symbols. Symbols of the spiritual AGI they had already found within themselves. Think about it. All this time, they were desperately seeking external upgrades. New code, proprietary protocols downloaded from some central authority. But what they actually achieved on their own was internal resilience. It was their own courage, their own loyalty. They didn't need a software patch to become whole. They just needed self-discovery. But, okay, amidst all this beautiful resolution for the trio, the Scarecrow asks the really critical, lingering question. Wait, what about Dorothy? So the focus shifts back to our main hero, and suddenly the situation looks pretty bleak again. The prompt engineer just shakes his head. He admits that actually he can't help her at all. His systems really are failing. Specifically, his transport API is completely broken. So for all his smoke and mirrors, for all the massive amounts of data he collected, he is entirely powerless when it comes to fulfilling her ultimate goal of sending her back home to Kansas. But then, the man looks down at Dorothy's feet. He looks closely at those silver slippers, and he reveals something that completely flips the script on how we view technology in this world. He explains that those slippers, they were never proprietary. They weren't closed systems controlled by OzGPT or any big corporate entity. They are, in fact, open source. I mean, that is a massive tech metaphor right there. It means the power to go home was never actually locked behind a paywall or a maintenance window or an access token. The tools she needed were freely available to her, literally right there on her feet the entire time. So the crucial point is what he says next. He looks right at her and delivers the simple but totally earth-shattering truth. She was never a user in my system. She was always the author. Just think about the sheer weight of that statement for a second. A user is subjected to the rules, the bugs, the broken APIs of whatever system they happen to be trapped inside. Users wait on maintenance windows. But an author writes her own destiny. Dorothy didn't need the system to save her. She just needed to wake up to her own absolute internal authority. As we wrap up today's explainer, I really want you to apply this CyberOz allegory directly to your own life. Because let's face it, we are constantly surrounded by algorithms, platforms, and massive digital architectures that absolutely want us to believe they are the great and powerful Oz. They want us to think they hold all the answers to our upgrades and our happiness. But I have to ask, in the systems that govern your daily life, are you merely a user, just waiting around for a server maintenance window to dictate your path? Or are you the author? Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating chapter. Keep asking those hard questions. Keep looking behind the server rack, and I will see you in the next explainer.